Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we're actually going to be taking a look at Dr. Ratio because once you get to a certain part of the story, you're actually able to play as him as a trial, and you also get multiple fights. So I just wanted us to kind of go over what Dr. Ratio can offer, what his kit is looking like, and just my overall thoughts on him so far. So if you guys do enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and also if you guys want any showcases, be sure to let me know. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So as you guys can see, we are allowed to use a trial Dr. Ratio. In fact, our team must include Dr. Ratio. So I thought I'd go over his kit real quick. I'll give my thoughts on it and then potentially mini build some teams for him and we'll just try them out. So to start off with his basic attack, it is, pretty basic. But if we were to go to his skill is also pretty basic for the most part. He just does a percentage of his attack to a single enemy. But then our traces come into play, which is when Dr. Ratio uses his skill, for each debuff on the target, his crit rate increases by 2.5 and crit damage by 5%. And this effect can stack to up to 6 times. So if I were to just quick math this, 6 times, so 5 times 6, you can get up to a 30% crit damage increase and a 15% crit rate increase. So I think this is pretty good so far because this will definitely help with building him for his crit rate and crit damage ratios. And I just realized I was actually covering the second one, or the second trace rather. So when the skill is used to attack an enemy target, there's a 100% base chance to reduce the attacked target's effect resistance by 10% for 2 turns. This is nice for being able to add a debuff onto an enemy, which this will actually count towards the debuff that he'll need for the crit rate and crit damage increases. So this already gives him 1 debuff out of the 6 that he would want. And if we were to look at his talent, Dr. Ratio has a 40% fixed chance of launching a follow-up attack against a target for 1 time. 40% fixed chance means that unlike a base chance, this cannot increase unless, as we see here, it increases. But typically speaking, fixed chances do not increase unless there is another factor in the kit that would increase it on its own. So what I mean by this is, let's say we have a character with a base chance. I'm going to use Himiko, for example. A 50% base chance. Base chance can be increased with the effect hit rate stat, which is right here. That can increase your base chance of landing onto an enemy. But with Dr. Ratio, he only has a fixed chance. So this is only going to increase within his kit depending if he does have a way to increase it. And this will deal a good percentage of his attack. And for each debuff the target enemy has, the fixed chance increases by 20%. So this is going to be his way to increase that 40% upwards to, of course, 100% to guarantee the follow-up attack. And if it's by 20% each time, that means you'll only need 3 debuffs in order to 100% do a follow-up attack every single time after using his skill. And then what's even nicer about this is that if the target enemy is defeated before the follow-up attack triggers, then this follow-up attack will be directed at a different enemy instead. So this is pretty nice. For each debuff the target has, the damage dealt by Dr. Ratio increases by 10% up to a maximum of 50%. So this is pretty nice, and if I'm reading this correctly, it would mean that you would want, 5 debuffs or more to the upwards of that 50%. But of course, if we do look at the skill once again, we do want 6 debuffs to get the maximum crit rate and crit damage. But overall, so far from his talent, this is looking pretty good because he gets now a crit rate increase by upwards to 15%, a crit damage increase by upwards of 30%, and now a damage increase for upwards of 50%. And now for his technique, he launches a taunt on nearby enemies lasting for 10 seconds, and he has a 100% base chance to reduce each single enemy target speed by 15% for 2 turns. Dr. Ratio will be able to do a speed debuff on an enemy, and then he'll also be able to do the effect res debuff, which will allow you to have 2 debuffs. But of course, this only lasts for 2 turns, so this will be something to keep in mind when playing him. And then for his ultimate, he will deal, of course, a good amount of damage of his attack to a single enemy and applies Wiseman Foley. And when Dr. Ratio's allies attack a target affiliated with Wiseman Foley, he will launch 1 follow-up attack 1 time against this target. And this can be triggered up to 2 times and only affects the most recent target of Dr. Ratio's ultimate. Wiseman Foley is most likely going to be a debuff as well. Of course, I'll play it once we test him out in the trial, but this is looking pretty interesting, and this would basically equate to 3 debuffs on his own. So now with teammates, you would need to get more of those debuffs. And then for his traces, he gets crit rate. That's pretty good. He gets attack, and he also gets defense. That's pretty nice. 4-piece imaginary set. That's decent overall. And then the Glamouth set. But so far, Dr. Ratio looks like a pretty interesting hunt follow-up attacker. Gives me a bit of Topaz vibes. And speaking of Topaz, I want to try Topaz with him. I've been seeing a lot of people recommending these two, and I think these two will actually be really nice together. Another option would actually be Silverwolf. The reason I think Silverwolf and Dr. Ratio will be pretty good is even though Silverwolf is single target, Dr. Ratio can take full advantage of this because of the fact that Silverwolf has so many debuffs that she can inflict onto enemies that I think her and Dr. Ratio will actually be pretty nice together because he can get his full maximum bonuses from the crit rate and crit damage and also damage increases. Near the end, I will recommend a few more teams after playing him, but this is what I think for a base core would be really, really strong with him. Okay, we see our first enemy, our first victim, in fact. I'm gonna use a technique. I just wanna see what it looks like. Oh my gosh. I love this technique. What the heck? I'm just gonna, wha-bam. But let's see how Dr. Ratio does. This battle is probably gonna be pretty short, but let's just see. Also, this Dr. Ratio, I'm not gonna lie, this crit rate to crit damage is kind of butt. I'm not a huge fan of it, but if he does well right now, that'll be a pretty good thing because that might show that he's a pretty good character overall. And he has these percentages, which is kind of cool, and he has this little chalk. I'm actually a big fan of this. So there we go. Here's his first attack. The follow-up did a good amount of damage. Then we have Numby with Proof of Debt. And we're just attacked with Silverwolf. I feel like this is actually just gonna kill the bug. It does. Okay, so this fight is kind of easy for the most part. We're just, you know, going through it. Oh, wait. I understand the percentage now, I think. Okay, let me see if my theory about the follow-up attacks is actually accurate or if I'm completely wrong here. The 40% and 60%. Why does he have 60%? Oh, okay. These are not debuffs, I suppose, but this is a debuff and this is Proof of Debt. So remember how when we went in his kit or looked at his kit that it increases by 20% and it starts at 40%? So he has Proof of Debt on him and now it's 60%. So here we go. Our follow-up did happen and Numby's just going to destroy him. So if we were to use Silverwolf, I'm very curious how this would go. If this would increase to 60. We're gonna do it on this guy just so we don't immediately kill him. Okay, this is completely fine. And Numby's going to destroy them. So let's see. We have right now 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 debuffs. So we should be at 100%. Yep, we are. Okay, so this is basically, I guess, your fixed chance of actually doing the follow-up attack. So that's actually pretty cool that the game just tells you. And now the other hit will just go onto the other bug because we destroyed that bug. I think that's honestly a really nice touch the game just tells you and you don't have to like math it out in your head. Now let's speed up this bug. But yeah, as you saw, since Silverwolf can inflict multiple debuffs, especially if you use her ultimate, I can see her allowing Dr. Ratio to get a bunch of follow-ups just very consistently because of how Silverwolf is as a character. In fact, I'm just going to use this and see what happens. Here we go. Now, if we were to use a skill, then we do the follow-up. If I were to inflict Wiseman Foley on this guy, just bam. Okay, so, oh, it's 100% right now. So just do that. And he will just immediately follow up. So actually, that's really cool. I'm really a fan of this. I could see this team actually being really strong, even though it is heavily single target. If there were a case where you can have pretty consistent uptimes on the debuffs, which with Silverwolf, I would believe it's pretty easy. I can see this team being pretty strong. Oh shoot, I think we're about to have like a real fight. He was literally about to punch the heck out of me. Holy crap. So if I were to use Numby here, let's just do this. And Numby's gonna do his damage. So we are getting attacked, but let me see how many debuffs are on this guy now. So we have this one, this one, this one, and then Tame. So we have 4 on him right now. I'm just gonna break him. So we do have 100%. And let's see. So we only have one stack of summation. But now that we attacked him and then we did the follow-up and then Numby goes. Did that go up by chance? Okay, this just went up. That's really nice. So we did attack him, and if I'm not mistaken, he had 4 debuffs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, technically now 5. And there we go. That should now lead to the final stack that would be needed, which he should now have 6 debuffs. So we're gonna have this 100%, and just to double check, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 debuffs. Perfect. So we have the 100% chance, and now he literally is just gone. We also have now our 6 stacks of summation. It does make me wonder though if the stacks go away or if they just stay the entire battle, similarly to how our Gentee's crit rate buff just stays the whole time. So let's see. Okay, we have 6 stacks. Now if I were to just attack him real quick, and we're gonna attack him as well. Okay, second wave. So he did not have all the debuffs, and yep, we still have 6 stacks. This is pretty good because we're just going to easily be able to get this once there are 6 debuffs on an enemy. Now we have Numby. So I'm just trying to see. Okay, I'm guessing this enemy is also going to be weak to imaginary. Yep, he is. Okay. So we're just going to use Ushwin's ultimate here. And then with Dr. Ratio, we have a 60% chance and 80% chance on him though. So we have the speed bug, and then I'm guessing also the entanglement. So pretty good stuff. Trying to see here if we can. Okay, we inflicted the fire weakness instead. That's totally fine.
The market is unpredictable. Investing in victory.
But so far I'm feeling pretty good about Dr. Ratio. He's not too shabby, but I can tell you'll definitely need a good amount of teammates that can actually inflict debuffs pretty consistently, or at least at a good rate, so you do take advantage of that damage increase as well. Now he has 100%, and just to double check one more time, we do still have the crit buffs, so pretty good stuff. This will definitely make building him a tad bit easier. And then a really good amount of damage from the follow-up, in my opinion, for like a ratio that has pretty whatever crit rate and crit damage at the current moment. And now we can have Dr. Ratio visit us. So I thought before we end off this video, I would think of, I guess, partners I can think of for Dr. Ratio. First things first, him requiring 140 energy is quite a lot. So I'm personally thinking that he might want an energy regeneration rope just right off the bat, or that he might want potentially a teammate who can help with energy, maybe Tingyun, maybe Huo. I'm not too sure. I didn't personally get to, I feel like, play him enough to fully gauge that just yet, but that's just an initial thought, just due to that high energy cost in general. And I also think when it comes to building a team for him, you absolutely have to account for wanting to have those debuffs on enemies. I could potentially see him being in a team where the whole team buffs him up. Or of course, maybe using a character like Topaz. I think Silverwolf will be a really, really good option for those who do have her though, because you definitely should be able to ensure that you have enough debuffs on the enemy to be able to get the crit rate and crit damage necessary. So I think he'll be a pretty good character, honestly, and definitely a great option for those who do not have Dan Heng IL. I would just definitely consider the fact that, well, he wants debuffs on enemies, so you do need to account for that when building a team. So characters that come to mind could potentially be, once again, Silverwolf, maybe potentially Pela, because Pela has really good defense decreases. Topaz is a great option as well because they could do a follow-up synergy. Proof of Debt is going to buff Dr. Ratio's follow-up attack. That'll be really good for additional damage output. Potentially maybe characters that can inflict some form of damage over time, but also another debuff. So maybe a character like Gwenaifen could be pretty nice for that particular purpose, where she burns, but then she also allows you to have additional debuff on top of that. And then, of course, there are other characters that have multiple debuffs as well. And then teammates can help him deal even more follow-up attacks, especially if he's able to use that ultimate pretty often. I think he'll definitely be a powerhouse when it comes to single target damage in general. So I'm pretty excited for him and cannot wait to test him out once he's here and just do a bunch of teams with him, test him out in Memory of Chaos, and of course do showcases for you guys Yeah, that's what I'm thinking so far for my initial impressions. Let me know what you guys think, especially if you did play the trial. I'd love to know. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and also leave a like. And I hope you all have a great one like always. Peace.